Hey, Chicago Hill. This is a special Chicago Hill. Why is it special, men?
Because it's all about you. It's all about you.
It's about women. Yes. Women. Yes. And it's Mother's Day well, I don't know when people see this, but it's Mother's Day weekend.
It's Mother's Day weekend.
Yes, indeed.
And we can honestly say we wouldn't be here without y'all.
That's right.
Thank you. Yes. And I want to send a special out to women who mother the masses. Yes. So you have mothers who mother their children, directly, women who give birth, but you also have those women out here in the world who take on a community, who take on the masses. And we definitely want to acknowledge them as well. I'm a woman who, go ahead.
Meleika, it's funny because, Mark and I were talking and we gave so much praise to women. I don't know how they do all the things that they do. I really don't. I mean, I could not measure up to the things that women do to keep society going and to be really the backbones. You know what Mark said?
What?
He said, shucks, I struggle just remembering to shave.
Oh. Well, I mean, and look at us now. Meleika looks beautiful. The two guys look like we just got out of bed, which I think is true. I mean, so what? How long you got? How much earlier, Meleika, do you have to wake up to look as good as you do when we do these things in the morning?
Oh no, hold on, Mark. The answer is she woke up like this.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. Think about how good she would look if she got herself together.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I need my hair done. Hint. So, I have it in blood. But women, we wake up with so many things looming around our heads, what we have to do. So even to get on this show, I get up as things that I do before I even get myself ready to be on the show. So it's just our list is never ending. And we go to bed with things, still undone. And so you're actually dreaming about things that you didn't get done. And you got to wake up and get them done. It's just never ending. It's never ending.
I actually want to say, at first I was thinking to myself, well, they actually do take care of the world. And then I wanted to say something about, they even take care of the white people. And then I thought, back in the day, there were plenty of enslaved Black women who had to take care of white children, whether they wanted to or not. And they didn't want to. But in some ways, Black women did raise the country.
You know what? Absolutely. And Mark, yes. I would reject your premise that the Black women didn't want to, because they're so nurturing and they wanted, the conditions that they were in. They saw the child needed care. They saw the mother wasn't able, or however you want to put it. And they said, this is my baby. I'll even breastfeed the baby. How about that?
I actually believe part of my thesis is that one of the reasons slavery was ultimately defeated was because so many white men had such fond memories of their caregivers that it humanitized. It made enslaved people feel like they're human to white people who had been raised by them. And I believe that was one of the things that actually led to the downfall of slavery, was that incredible connection. And I bet, the slave owners didn't expect that their own kids would turn on them sometimes because of their,
that's right.
Because of their Black caregivers, their Black nurses, etc. So I actually believe that motherhood of all people, rather than just your own kids, sort of part of the way this country was founded.
That's what Meleika said. You said women are the mothers of
That's right.
the universe. And can I make one comment, Meleika, that Mark said, and I want to give him credit because he said slaves, and then he corrected himself and said enslaved people. That is major. And I think that the listeners should understand that people, Meleika would say, we were not born slaves.
Correct.
We were enslaved. So if you ever have a slip of the tongue and you say slaves, they were not slaves, they were enslaved. And that's a lesson that I like to make sure that I highlight.
Well, and for me, it was difficult because what I was doing was talking from the perspective of the white men who had been raised by their nannies. And so within that prospect, they saw them as slaves rather than enslaved people. But even with that, I said it and then it just didn't feel right. So I corrected myself. And, a tip to white people everywhere, all the time, apologize, don't explain. Okay, just apologize and correct it and move on.
I like that. I'm seeing more and more white people apologizing, just saying, I'm sorry.
How refreshing.
They don't know what to say. They don't know what to say.
They don't know what to say. And but it sure is better than saying, well, my ancestors came from Ireland, so I didn't do anything. Well,
right.
You have a good job, a nice house. So, where did all that stuff come from?
Well, I think, Meleika, that's a great topic. And I know we're going to get back to the mothers, but I do want to stick there for a minute because that is a disconnect in society where white men, white women say, I didn't enslave Black people. I didn't do anything wrong. I have Black friends. I now have Black people in my family. Why are you constantly saying that I'm responsible for hate and racism in this country and for the enslavement of Black people? What's the answer to that? I know the answer. You alluded to it, Mark, a little bit. I mean, what's the answer to white people saying, I never did anything to Black people?
It's the outcome, not that's what matters. I mean, I think to me in terms of, we use the word white privilege, but I do enjoy privilege, and that privilege had to come from somewhere. And to me, the beneficiaries bear a certain amount of, it's always funny to me how, and this is not just true of white people, I think it's true of all people, but, it's always funny to me how people are so proud of one ancestor who was great and never mentioned the 6 ancestors who were slave owners. You know what I mean? It's sort of like either own all of your history or don't use it to advance your, narrative.
Yeah, and you have a lot of white parents now who do not want accurate history taught because they're like, you're making us look like monsters. It makes my child is horrified by what you're teaching.
Good. Good.
Yes.
How many Black children were horrified when their mother was taken and sold to somebody else?
And
come on, people.
Black people have been horrified by the inaccuracy of history that's being taught right now. So exactly. The balance is to get it right and not make one side feel uncomfortable. I think that when you try to put in this pull-out history to talk about and correct the history because it wasn't put forth properly, that's where you get the disconnect. So I think if we correct it from the start to the finish and continue it as time goes on in an accurate way, then no one feels uncomfortable because they have the truth. Instead of getting parts, bits here and bits there, anytime you get highlight reels of history, it's going to be fearful. But context really helps.
And I mean, we're going to have to talk about this because as you might have noticed, I started, like twitching. My head was about to explode.
You better get your white people on board. It's all you, Mark.
I have a lot to say. I feel like I have a lot to say about this, and we should say it. But just to get back to the theme, as we just talked about, there is really this thing, I think, where Black women are in some ways the mothers of the country. Okay, and each mother individually is wonderful, but I do think there is this. I think Black women, should all be enjoy Mother's Day because they and theirs have taken care of this country from the very time it was started.
Nice pronouns, Mark.
That's another show we should have. I have a lot to say about that too.
What would this world look like if all white people were like Mark?
God,
what would it look like, right?
I would tell you, it would be great to have white people on the same page as Mark. But you know what, Meleika, I would say I don't mind diversity in white people because everyone has a right to feel what they want to feel, believe what they want to believe, but they need to know the truth. And they can't run from the truth. Now, the fact that history lessons have made Americans ignorant to the truth, that's the problem. Now,
it's a big problem.
It's our job in our public schools, private schools, to make sure that we educate people properly. And then there are no ignorance in it. And then we could say they made the choice to be racist, hateful, and all those things because we know you were taught the truth. And I remember last episode, Mark said something about his mother would tell him, you better be careful with those conversations because the police will pull you over and you get yourself in trouble. Now, that's another conversation to have because I don't know if your upbringing was that your mother had a bias towards Black people, or if, I don't know what your household was like, but I know what your household is with your daughter because I met her. And you could tell when a person is raised in a house that really, and it's, it might be a little stretch to say don't see color, but I know at 50 years old, I know if a person sees me like, uh-oh, there's a Black man, or I know if I come to someone and they just see me. And that's what I saw with your daughter.
Well, I mean, she'd have to cringe with her boyfriend and her best friend if she didn't like Black people. So, but the point is that I think part of the disconnect also is what part of it you own, because you have white kids who ever hardly go to school with anyone but anybody who looks like them on and over sort of north of where Meleika is, there's a lot of that. But it's all white kids, but you walk into a school and half of them look like rappers. They dress like rappers. They sound like rappers. They blast the music. So, it's funny how we have cultural denial and cultural appropriation happening at the same time. But in any case, we really have to give this an entire show because I do, let me put it this way. I had to unlearn certain things that I learned from watching my mother, unfortunately.
And that's exactly right. And so we put all of this on society to contract out to raise our kids. And remember, parents are the first teachers. And so when we blame society for bad police, corrupt police, we have to look at who raised those people. It starts at home. And that's what we have to remember, because the heart of a person could not be controlled just because we say that you should be a better person. Consequences will help control behavior, but the heart is what we need people to adjust. Meleika, what's up with women? I mean, if nobody else could do it, women can.
Meleika,
Women can. Go ahead, Mark.
I wanted to ask, and I guess I would ask each of you, what was the when you were old enough to have a conversation between differences in pigmentation? How did your mother help you be comfortable in your own skin?
Interesting. I think the conversation of I would say my first encounter with racism was in the town that me and my mom, my dad are from, Centralia, Illinois. If anyone has been in Southern Illinois, especially back, when I was born.
Well, they're like their black people there because there's a big prison there, and that's where half the white people are employed. So they like their black people as a source of income anyway. And it's sort of modern day slavery. Sorry, we got to get away from
And
this.
they don't, and they don't count them for their local population. They only count them as of today for their census population for the census of the districts, but passed the law, and now they can't even count them in their population for remapping.
That's right, but they don't count them for voting, but they count them from getting taxes.
Yeah. They don't want to say they don't want to say we got a murderer as a part of our community, or that we got this person that's carjacker or whatever as a part of our community, because that's what the census data would say, but they don't count that. The insurance would go up.
But when it comes time to get federal road funds, we got lots of anything that's based on head count is they're ours. Anything that's based on spending money, no, they're yours. Take them back to Chicago.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think growing up in Southern Illinois, we lived there when I was really, really young. And then I would go back every summer to, be with my relatives. And we would have encounters with, the white kids, and they would throw rocks at us or, get out the pool because we got in the swimming pool. I mean, just horrible things, getting called the N-word. And with my cousins, we're a popular family in Centralia, the Gardners. I mean, it was why. It was like sport to fight back. So it was like, it was like entertainment to fight back.
White people had to go out hunting. Black people just had to go out.
Right. I started learning very young about the differences. And then when me and my mom, we moved to the South Side of Chicago, all Black, my school classes, my friends, my neighborhood. Then we moved to the North Side, and I got culture shock. And I believe the movie Roots came out at around that time that we had moved to the North Side. And my mom had to have, that was the first time I had like a real sit down conversation about race, was when Roots came out. And then I was having some situations at school because I was the only Black kid in my class. It got real then. So it was like she prepared me, and she poured into me about being proud of who you are, and Black is beautiful, and teaching me history. And my aunt, she was an educator on the west side of Chicago. She was always pouring into me and my cousin about Black history and who we are. And that really helped me to get through some tough situations as a little girl on the north side of Chicago. And And
Taught
then
you to be proud about who you
taught
are,
me to be proud about who I am and that I'm beautiful. And
which
you
you
know,
are.
my mom would be like, you look better than all them girls in your class, you know, and they want to be you. They want to look like you. You know, they want your color. They want your lips. They want everything you got. And that's why they're
Why do
putting
you
you
think?
down.
Why do you think they go to Florida?
Yeah. And after a while, you know, I did start making friends, well, really with other people of color at the school. So I had Asian friends, I had, you know, Latino friends, I had Jewish friends, and, you know, but some ignorance was always coming out. I remember I had this Filipino friend, her mother wouldn't allow me to come to their house because she said we had tails.
Ooh,
Yeah.
wow.
That we had tails. I mean, it was horrible things that I would hear from my friends about what their mothers, their parents would tell them about who Black people are. And then they would be confused, like, but you're not like that. You don't have a tail. You know, you know what I mean?
I mean, I
So-
guess my perspective is if I'm not going to let somebody come to my house if they like, you know, shoot me. Okay. If you have a tail, fine. Like, what's that gonna? How does that hurt me anyway? Please tell me, someone.
that I was going to steal from them because Black people steal, you know, just it was horrible things. And my friends had to learn through me that what their parents were teaching them was not the truth. So I would invite them over all the time, and they would be like, well, my mom said I can't come to your house because Black people have liquor all over the floor, bottles of what, you know, and drugs, and, you know, and your house is nasty. And they would come to my house. My house is spotless, look better than their house. So, you know what I mean?
Who the hell's been cleaning houses for a century without even getting paid?
Yeah. So if my mom, my family as a whole, mainly the women in my family, my uncle's very fiery and angry about race. But if they hadn't poured
Let's
into
get
me,
let's get him on this show because I need somebody.
if they hadn't poured into me, I don't know what I would have turned into with those experiences. What would have happened?
Well, for me, my mom and all the women and my aunts, you know what's amazing? We really, really had great experiences with white people. And I really, really had the teachings of my mother bringing white people around all the time. And she was just teaching, you have to always look them in their eyes. And that was her. And I really, really had great experiences with white people because I went to Catholic schools and they really poured love into me, the white people. And my mother's colleagues at the hospital that she worked at, everybody wanted to love me and bring me gifts and always love LaShawn. And so we really didn't have a lot of conversations about race in the household. Only make sure that you always look them in their eyes. And that's important because I think that growing up, Black people never were allowed to look white people in the eyes. Is that the case?
We were taught don't look at police officers in the eye because it will invite them to come and see what's going on with you. So just don't even look their way. Like if you're driving and they pull up next to you, don't look. Don't even look over there. Don't even look over there because if you look, you make eye contact. And a situation did happen with my cousin, a woman, my cousin, and she had 4 kids in the car with her, and she wanted to show her kids that the police, you know, aren't bad people. So she like waved and was like, you know, mouthed hi officer, and waved to him with a smile, and they pulled her over.
Oh my God.
They pulled her over like, what's going on? She made the eye contact.
Oh, well, maybe he thought that she was in trouble.
No, pulled her over as in ran her name, what's going on
I'm
with you,
just
what's
trying
happening?
I'm trying to see both ways. You know, one thing that I would say, if my daughter ever listens to this, that not only should she not look at the police officer when she's driving, she should have her head straight forward and don't even look to the left and right at the stop signs, but have her peripheral on just in case someone's out there. But don't give eye contact to anyone on the side of you, because it is inviting, you know. And so, for instance, Mark, you know, you pull up, you see a beautiful lady, and you want to get their attention. You remember you were growing up, and you want to get their attention, and you're like, "What's up? What's up?" Don't look. Don't look at all, because once you look, then now they're gonna follow you. Don't look. Act like you don't see them, but you see them.
I mean, these days it's good advice not to look or make eye contact at all with anyone, like you were saying, Rob, because you might just get shot.
Yeah.
You know, because people see you looking and they think you're challenging them in some
Well,
way.
let's be
No, I'm
clear.
just looking around, being curious. But
Let's be clear. The look is when you're talking to them, you don't put your head down. When you're in conversations with people, you stand erect and you don't put your head down. You look them in the eyes. Meleika, do those guys be pulling on the side of you trying to get your attention?
Yes, and it's a mistake to look over and make that eye contact. Oh Lord, you're like, why did I do that? Why?
Well, I got to tell you, in my days, I would pull on the side of beautiful ladies like, whoa, what's up? What's up? So it was funny. I was with my guy one time, and we saw this beautiful girl, and I think I had a Corvette, something, BMW or something. I forgot what I had. And we pulled beside, I'm like, trying to get her attention. And she rolled down the window. And, you know, I'm probably corny or something, but I said, she had a nice car. I had a nice car. I said, you want to race? So I took off and I left. My friend said, well, that was smart. I'm like, oh my God, that was good. I will never forget the day that I saw a lady on the side of me. And the only thing I can say is, do you want to race?
Yeah, great. It's a great call. Two black. Was this woman black?
Oh yes, she was black.
Two black people in nice cars racing.
No, but
hello, police.
But the moral of the story is,
he didn't get her number or her name or nothing.
And I left.
That was the true punishment. You should have gotten a ticket for stupidity.
Right. Oh Lord have mercy.
Well, I got to say that, and you know, we're celebrating women, and I actually have two kinds of people to celebrate. So I was raised by a mentally ill mom who came through World War II and was like 10 years old when she had to take care of her younger sister and older brother. Her dad got killed in World War II, shot by his own troops for being a Jewish officer. So they didn't want to be led by a Jewish officer, so they shot him in the back. You know, sort of made it easier for the Nazis, one less the Nazis had to deal with. But then my mom was so she was, you know, clearly grew up and sort of transferred her mental issues and her PTSD to her children. There was a lot of that. And unfortunately, there were two things going on. Number one, it's even worse than it is in America if you grow up in a homogenous country. So when I was in Russia up until I was 10 years old, I think I only ever met one black person in person. I saw black people on TV, but you don't get that exposure. And certainly my mom didn't. And so she was racist. I have no problem saying that. You know, sorry, mom. it's easier to do this when they're not alive anymore, to do that analysis, to do that honest deep dive. But for my mom, there was that other part, which was, well, we got screwed. Okay. We were the minority. So we got screwed. So what you have to do, Mark, is screw people before they screw you. Okay. Her own grievance, her own suffering prevailed. That meant that, she never felt sympathy for, let's say, Palestinians that were getting oppressed in Israel because she was Jewish. Why should she be sympathetic to Palestinians? And there was this real sense, and I love this because, again, it's Representative Ford and I have good friend, State Representative Mary Flowers, leader Mary Flowers, and I get all these good concepts from her, and I mean, it's not an unusual thing to say. What my mom always believed that was we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, okay? And she thought everybody had to do the same, otherwise you didn't respect them. And what I didn't have the capacity to tell her then, which I understand now, is you could pull yourself up by your bootstraps because you had boots, okay? Somebody doesn't have boots, it's hard to pull themselves up by bootstraps. You got to get people boots first. And so, unfortunately, and of course, I love my mom and I love my parents. And there's a lot of good here too, up here that was deposited here. Certainly the ability to read, to think, critical thinking that ultimately led me to see the light. Some of us were woke long before that word was, I thought it was just meant being normal and nice, but now we have a word for it. In any case, so, as I think about my mom, it's a mixed legacy. There are a lot of other women that I appreciate and celebrate along with them. My wife, who is amazing and spends sleepless nights worrying about things like African Americans who are reentering society after a prison term and how they're being treated and how they're just being set up for failure again. That's the kind of stuff my wife thinks about for fun. That's generally the kind of thing conversation we have around the dinner table. And then the other person, really, I always have to remember is my mentor, my fairy godmother, my close friend, and your Congresswoman, Meleika Representative Jan Schakowsky, who my first job in politics was when I was in college, and I was her intern in her first successful state representative campaign. Got her elected to Springfield for a few terms before she went to Washington. And that woman, in particular, Jan Schakowsky, her honesty, her openness, her ability to get indignant when people were treated unfairly, that all transferred to me. And one of the things that I really value from her is that I think she and her husband were unafraid to talk about race. And they were unafraid to say, of course, all the positive things and admit all the stuff that's been done wrong. And to say it in a way, there are not a lot of people, particularly white people, who are comfortable talking about race, even now, even to this day. And a lot of people won't because there's landmines, right? They just don't want to say the wrong thing. And so to me, being able to relate to anybody as people and to take the good and the bad and to be able to talk about it honestly and admit my own faults and failures and to talk about how I'm correcting them, but also to see people as people. That was very much came from Jan Schakowsky. And it's one of the most valuable things that I have here. I don't know that I would be in this position to do this show with you if I hadn't had that exposure, if I didn't have that experience. So
Mm.
You know, I thank my mother for showing me how to survive. And I thank people like Jan Chakowski and LaShawn Ford and others for showing me how to live.
Mm. Wow.
You know, Mark, I would
Mm.
say that but to no fault of your mother, she was what society created. And that's the shift that we have to make in society. Your mother was a product of America, of society. And it's up to us to now correct the story of America. And you know what? Had your mother got a different perspective and a different reality, she would have been a different person. We now, as Americans, have an opportunity to do that. And we cannot let a day go by where we don't correct the history of our country so that people could now live and heal as a nation. So I would tell the stories about my ladies in my life. You know, I was adopted at 6 months. My biological mother was a young teenager when she had me. And I was adopted by my grandmother, her mother. And these two women have really impacted my life in incredible ways. It's because of them who I am today, all the good, if you could find any. So my biological mother went on to live 64 years. She passed, but she struggled with a substance use disorder for most of her life. And one of the issues that is very important to me is to help people with substance use disorders, because I see how it impacts the lives of the individual and how it impacts the family and how it impacts the community. So her life was like Christ. She sacrificed her life. She lived her life in a struggle to make a lot more people's lives better. And because of her, she put into me how to deal with this use of heroin. And I believe her life has saved a lot of people's lives through me. And so then I have my grandmother who adopted me at 6 months. That is just fascinating. You know, she put me through Catholic grammar school, Catholic high school, Catholic university, and she only made probably $15,000, $10,000 working as a nursing assistant at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I just don't know how she did it. She went to work, she cooked dinner, she cleaned. We never had our lights cut off. We always had a big Christmas tree with lots of gifts. We had a happy home. It was so happy that she would go to the school to pick up report cards, and they were just, we got to meet his parents because these some rich people, because I thought we were rich. And so when they went to meet with the teacher, they were like, wow, what do you guys do for a living? Because your son say you guys are rich. And I'm telling you, it's unbelievable how she made, what did they say? Made $1 out of 15 cents. It's unbelievable how my mother really carried the family. She would work overtime and still figured out how to do laundry, cook. I don't know how she did it. And so that's what I believe is what it's all about. I mean, women. Then I have my aunts that have poured in, her sister and her, and that loved me and always there for me when I needed them. So much that when I had prostate cancer, I didn't tell anybody, and they were mad because they couldn't help me. And that's
Some of your friends were mad too.
I was mad at you too.
And And so my family didn't know, because I didn't want to burden them with lots of trouble. But there is somebody outside of the family that I have to give a lot of credit to. She's a woman. She's a white lady. Her name is Carol Wesley, Miss Wesley. She was my 8th grade teacher. And one, she gave me a conscience about grammar. That's great. And I would tell you, I still haven't mastered the English language, but because of her, I have a conscience about my subjects and verbs agreeing and doing things. But what was so incredible about Carol, Miss Wesley, is I was a sophomore in college, and I went to visit her back at the grammar school. And she said, "Hey, LaShawn," I was like a teacher's pet. I loved me some Miss Wesley. And she said, "So what are you doing with yourself?" I said, "I'm in school." And she said, "What you gonna major in?" I said, "Political science." She said, "Political science? What are you gonna do with a political science degree?" She said, "You should be a teacher. You would make a great teacher." She said, "Whatever you plan to do with that political science degree, if you're gonna be a lawyer, you could do the same with a teacher degree, and you're going to be in demand. People will love to have you as a teacher." And because of her, my life changed. I listened. When people talk to me, I listen. And that lady changed my life. Because of Miss Wesley, I actually became a teacher, and it helped me through a lot of things in life. One, immediately when I graduated, I had a job. I got to work in a school and teach children, and today their lives are my life. And I moved on to do real estate. All that happened because I was able to have this lady in my life named Miss Wesley. So women, she didn't have children either, but she was a mother to all of us. And I would say one last thing about my favorite song. I will always love my mama. I don't know who wrote that one, but I do know my other favorite is Dear Mama by Tupac.
I can't resist that one. You know, I'm a white guy, so my favorite band is the Grateful Dead. And I don't, if you have ever heard them, you heard them by accident, because I know you all ain't listening to the Grateful Dead. But
No.
they have a song called "Women Are Smarter." That's right, the women are smarter. That's right, the women are smarter. Women are smarter every day. You know, maybe we should have used that song as the theme for our program today.
Women are smarter.
Let's put men and women together, see which one is smarter.
Well, so many women who have been just amazing to me, but of course, my mom and my 2 grandmothers. My 2 grandmothers are no longer here, but they had such an impact on me as a person. My mom's mom, she lost her husband very early on, and she raised 3 kids. She was very educated, which was unusual for, at that time, during that time period. And she ended up, having to become a housekeeper in a white family's home. But she learned about the stock market and bonds and things like that from her employer. And that's how she took care of her kids, her family. She would not accept help from anybody. Her family, she would not accept help from anyone. And my mom was like, they were very, very poor, but she was such a proud woman. She refused to accept help. She worked for everything. And I had the honor of taking care of her for about 5 years. My mom had to leave out of state for work. And so I had stepped in and took that on, because my grandmother, she had a lot of physical issues, but that was the most golden time I think of my life was sitting down with her, and she was so private and she wouldn't open up to talk about pains and things in her life. And for the first time ever, we would like hold hands, and I would just lay my head on her shoulder and we would just talk and just talk. And the stuff she would tell me was just golden. And that was where I learned to truly step outside of self and just love someone else unconditionally. And every day I woke up thinking about her. I got out of the entertainment industry and got like a quote unquote real job so that I could look after us. And she was my everything. Like she just taught me so much. And she was like, I want you to go live your life. And she was just made of steel. I don't even think they make women like her anymore. They don't make them like Pearl. That was her name, Pearl. And she was, my God, I just want to cry when I think of her, because she was so amazing, so strong. And then my father's mother, Meleika Gardner, she passed not too long ago. Another one, she gave birth to 11 kids, and I think 10 of them she gave birth at home. And I was like, Mom Vita, how did you do that? Like with no drugs? Like women today, they got to get the epidural. She was like, girl, I need no drugs. I need no help. I just tell everybody, leave the room. I got this, and tell them to close the door. She like gave birth to her children by herself. I'm just like, these women, and she was always fiery and fighting. And she was like a pillar in the community. Everyone would come to Mama Vita's house, if they needed a place to stay, if they needed something to eat. She always kept the door open to the community, and people would come sit on her porch, and she would just talk, and she'd have us all cracking up laughing, or if there was an injustice. I remember growing up and seeing her curse out white police officers. She's probably the only Black person that could curse out a white police officer and not get arrested. And nothing happened to her, but she would legit get up in their face and tell them about themselves. And her husband died early too, after the 11th child was still young, and she took on 11 children. And one thing she told me, she said, never retire from your work, give to your community, never retire, because that's when you start to die. And these women were just amazing. And then my mom, with all that she's gone through in life, we have all these like tragedies. She lost 3 husbands. And I went through a lot of that with her, and just watching her get up and go to work. And there were times she would be so tired, and I would just hug her and hold her and tell her, Mommy, we're going to be all right. And she taught me, do laundry. I was a latchkey kid. So I would come home 9 years old, do laundry, have the dishes done, start a pound cake, take the meat out the freezer, and then do my homework to help her out, help take care of my baby sister. And she taught me, you got to keep going. We got things to do. Life don't stop just because things happen. You got to keep going. So, I learned a lot from these 3 women, and my aunt too, the educator. She poured a lot into me and my cousin. So, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have those women, where I watched them be examples of, things are going to happen, and you got to just fight and keep going. You got to fight and keep going. So That's it. And that's Meleika Gardner, Pearl Walker, and Fran Joy.
Meleika, that's beautiful. And those stories, I think people need to hear. And what's amazing about that, I heard you say people sick. And I never seen my mother sick. And I know she had to get sick, but she never showed anything. I always saw her as strong and ready, always going to work, taking care of us. Growing up, she's cleaning it up without any problem. I'm here cleaning it up, wiping it. Nowadays, people are like, oh my God, what the heck is going? It's amazing, the love. And you know what was so good about the mother's love? If you're sick and you just get in her bed, it was a different feeling. And like you said, that mother bed was like a healer. It's like I feel so much better with getting in mama's bed. And I heard you say that your mom made sure that you did laundry and stuff. Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that my mom did for me was she did all the laundry. Now I'm in trouble. I don't want to do no laundry.
Well, I hate doing laundry. I hate doing laundry and dishes. Can't live nowhere without a dishwasher.
I actually insist on doing my own laundry because nobody can do it as well as I can. It makes my wife crazy. I'm like, don't ever do my laundry. Don't touch it.
I just was so spoiled. My sisters and everybody, my aunts, they just treated me so well. And I was like a prince, literally. I didn't have to cook and clean. I didn't even have to fix my plate. And to this day, it's better I'm not a chauvinist at all, but there's a love in getting the plate fixed for you. And I experienced it. So if someone fixes my plate, it means a lot to me. My mother would fix my plate, my aunt, my sisters, everybody would fix the plate for me. It's crazy because if we go to family affairs, my sister and everyone knows, they say, you want me to fix your plate? Because I'm sitting around there at 50 still waiting on somebody to fix my plate.
Trying to learn how to do laundry.
But you know what? I learned from my mom too, how to be there for a man. So I love cooking and fixing a plate for my man. I love that. Because I saw my mom do it.
What time should we come over?
But Meleika and Mark, I want you guys to know I pull my weight too now. If you go out, a woman, you don't have to pay. I'm paying.
You pull your weight, you eat that plate. Good for you.
So I'm gonna take care of the women, and they don't have to pay if we go out. I'm paying. If they have problems, I'm gonna.
Oh, can you repeat that again?
If we go out,
the other man out there.
Yes, absolutely. I'm paying. And I don't mind. And if I can't fix your car, which I can't, I'll help you get it fixed. Things like that. Don't ask me to do stuff like that, but just hold tight. I'm gonna get AAA to change that tire, but you don't have to get it.
I will say my contribution to that is that I have a spouse. My wife, I think, has always earned more, has been the higher earner in the household, and that taught me a lot. You know what I mean? To this day, sometimes it's a humbling thing, but at the same time, I also learned not to sort of feel like that's wrong, because it's not wrong. And so, I've sort of turned it on its head. So now I just say to my wife, how much ever she makes, I say, if you made a little more, I'd retire now. So, I use that to full extent. But Meleika, I just saw a picture of your mom recently that you posted on social media with you at some arts function.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I just want you to know your mom is beautiful. I guess it was in the family.
Thank you.
Tell her that her picture conveyed her dignity, her royalty. She looked regal in that picture. And so please pass that sentiment on when you wish her happy Mother's Day.
I will. Thank you. She will appreciate that. Most definitely.
And I know you're going to close us down, Meleika, but let me just wish every woman out here a happy Mother's Day from the bottom of my heart. And I hope that the rest of the year and the rest of your existence continue to be good for you and your family.
Yes. And Mark?
That's right. The women are smarter. That's right. The women are not good at singing, but that's a Grateful Dead song that I always
and let me just butt right back in before Meleika closes out. Men, I gotta use the words of Mark. Don't be stupid. Don't forget. Don't forget.
That's right. Don't be stupid. And you know who you are. You know who you are. Everyone go out there, appreciate women. I mean, we take on so much from family to the community to so much. And we won't even talk about the physical. We won't even talk about the physical, the power of a woman physically. But yes, I want to say a big happy Mother's Day to all the women out there. You are beautiful. You are amazing. You are powerful. And we appreciate you and we respect you. This is Chicago Hills.
I say, let us put man and a woman together to find out which one is smarter. Some say men, but I say no.